What's up, gamers, and welcome back for more WotC-20. Today's matchup is VenuCenter versus Caesar. We've also been calling this deck SMF, which is a joke. It's not actually SMF because Muck is banned, but it does run Murkrow, so that is the M. But really, VenuCenter versus Caesar from e-Reader. And starting off in actives, it looks like Bulbasaur and Scyther from Jungle. Another Bulbasaur will join the bench and get a Grass attached for turn. And we'll go straight into an Orc, getting rid of a whole mess of things. An Elm, an Ivysaur, a Warp Energy was in there. So Big Oak, turn 1, drawing a full grip. Looking for a Cleffa, finds a Cleffa, also finds an Execute. Those will both join the bench. And a pretty good turn 1 going here for VenuCenter. Looks like there's also a Fan Club in hand. And that will also come down as a supporter for turn. So full bench incoming. We'll see what they grab. And it will be a second Cleffa, and I assume a second Bulbasaur. That is base set Bulbasaur, so 40 HP on that. Leech Seed deals 20 damage for 2 Grass Energy, and unless all damage from the attack is prevented, you can remove a damage counter from Bulbasaur when it uses it. And then it is a pass for turn, so note that attach was to the bench. Active Bulbasaur did not get one, even though it only has a retreat cost of 1. Passing over to Caesar, Scyther in the active can switch out whenever it wants. Probably considering right now when piloting whether or not to use that Darkness Energy in hand to attach it to Murkrow and lock down the Bulbasaur. And it will be an attach with that Darkness Energy. Into a computer search, likely to go and grab Fan Club. Pitching a Rainbow and looks like a Strength Charm, wanting to keep the rest of the hand. And realizing that Fan Club is in the prizes, which does happen. Gonna have to figure out what to go grab otherwise with this computer search. Quick hand peep to see how to go from here. Hand is going to be an item finder, and I missed the last card in there. Really struggling with the Fan Club prize. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a single Cleffa pulled out, maybe. Considering grabbing a Copycat, knowing that the opponent could eke, but instead it will be Cleffa, with Mean Look about to come in. Caesar is in hand at least. And it'll be a Mean Look for turn, passing back to VenuCenter, which top decks a Warp Energy. Grass attached instead to Cleffa for turn on the bench. Now, the Mean Look felt safe. Ooh, and a pass, nothing else to be done. Mean Look felt good because a Warp Energy was oaked into the bin on turn 1 by VenuCenter, so the likelihood of another Warp coming out of deck. Of course, a Gust could always break this lock. That's a whole other option, or a Cyclone Energy, but feeling good about seeing that Warp go into the bin from Oak, likely how that play was made. Does draw an Energy, that's a big deal. Deciding whether or not to evolve into Caesar now. It will get locked down. Gonna break the lock individually just to get Cleffa into active and get a free eke. Really important on a hand of 1. Decided to play the Caesar instead of shuffling it back into the deck. Just holding an item finder, so it's basically a dead hand. Cleffa comes in, that Cyclone attaches to bench, so it doesn't actually Cyclone anything. And it guarantees the eke. Ivysaur comes down, and there's the Warp Energy we saw drawn earlier on Bulbasaur to pull Cleffa in. We'll see if Cleffa can eke on Cleffa here. And it cannot, passing back to Caesar. Now that Ivysaur looks like it has the same art as base set, because it does, but it's actually from Expedition. Has 20 more HP, it's an 80 HP Ivysaur, definitely the best one. As Zeke resolves here, Getting a full grip for Caesar, hoping to find some metal energy, maybe a Sentret, get Furret set up. That would be the F in SMF. And Copycat in hand, so can respond to following Eeks from the opponent here. Good amount of energy. And decides to attach a Rainbow to Caesar. That places 10 damage onto Caesar. You can also see the DCE in hand. No basics found there to bench. It looks like another Caesar drawn, another Cleffa. Deciding what to commit to bench. Has to keep in mind that Executor could snipe off the bench in coming turns, but would rather keep the hand small for retaliating copycats and also just to get some cards down before eking so that you can draw fresh cards that you haven't seen before. Rolls for the Eek and gets it, passing back to VenuCenter. Top deck's a Venusaur. Some really good top decks coming so far. Rolls for an Eek and it is Tails. And Eek resolving. So the likelihood of drawing into a Metal or Rainbow is pretty good. The likelihood of drawing into DCE again is not as good. So probably should have attached the DCE last turn instead of the Rainbow to Caesar. But finds the DCE anyway, and a bunch of metal. Looks like there is also a Caesar in hand. And deciding here if it's time to bring Caesar active and try to take a prize. It would take a grass energy off the board, pretty big with energy trans down now. There isn't a ton of grass yet for VenuCenter to try to use. And you know the opponent was trying to Eek, so no energy in hand as far as you're aware of. Taking out the Cleffa would help. Of course, the opponent can just put Cleffa active and then energy trans a grass over to it, but still. Instead, it's a slow attach with a metal. Not looking to go aggressive here. Looks like deciding on whether or not to use that Salesman to thin the deck. Already one Strength Charm in the bin. Cleffa will come out. Snatch attempt. And it's good, gonna pull in the Venusaur, so one way to deny the eking when there's no energy in hand, as far as you're aware of, is to pull in that Venusaur, tag it for 20, and it doesn't have enough energy to get off a Solar Beam in response. Next turn, could respond with a pretty good heavy metal. And it's just a pass from VenuCenter. 3 metal effectively attached to that Caesar here. Heavy metal could roll from 30 to 50 to 70. And now we see the Salesman. So we know the deck runs a 2-2 split of Goldberry and Strength Charm. You can see the Goldberry just went by there in the deck. You can see there is the Strength Charm. Little deck peep as well. Potentially 1 Goldberry prized. Oh no, there's 2. Okay, so no Goldberries prized. Check in hand, you can see a Recycle energy in hand as well for a following turn. Now, the way the math is working right now, if that Strength Charm gets committed to board, when doing heavy metal, you need 2 out of 3 heads to take the knockout on Venusaur here. That would be a pretty big deal. So playing the odds, got to get a little lucky. Strength Charm gets committed, support for turn is over, and it is time for heavy metal. needs 2 heads to take the knockout. And it is 1 heads. Strength Charm gets discarded. Venusaur lives with 20. 80 damage on it, but you can see that Pokemon Center in hand, and a computer search as well. 2 Pokemon Center in hand, both are going to be kept. Venusaur going into the bin with this comp search. See what gets pulled out here. Most likely some hand fill option. No, it's a Warp Energy. You gotta get that Venusaur out of harm's way. And the Warp will come down. Cleffa coming back active. Energy Trans now moving Grass Energy around. Use Pokemon Center specifically to heal up that Venusaur to full. It does discard the Warp Energy though, and that is also attached for turn. Energy Transing that Grass back to Venusaur, and eking for turn off of Scizor. So now Scizor can just continue to Heavy Metal. Another Metal attached, so now there's 3 metals on this. Just make sure that it can't get Solar Beamed down as easily. Heavy Metal attempt is a tail, so the Cleffa stays alive and a full 7 for VenuCenter to get back into the swing of things here. Drawing into the full Exeggutor line, a Town B item finder, another Execute, as well as a Copycat, so lots of good cards in hand there. Exeggutor comes down, attached for turn to Venusaur. And Copycat being considered with 6 cards in hand for Scizor. Bin filling up pretty fast for VenuCenter. Now, I need to keep an eye on how much energy ends up on board. Super Explosion is always a good get out of jail free card for the Exeggutor. Recycle now coming down for Murkrow. Might see some locking and feint attacking. Heavy Metal is good this time. So that is, I think, the first prize of the game. Cleffa comes back active. See some item finders in hand. Another Grass Energy just slow attached to that Venusaur. It still can't Solar Beam here. Elm and Copycat in hand with those 2 item finders, and it's just going to be Elm to throw everything back in. Now the scary thing about Exeggutor is we were talking about Super Explosion. Usually you're worried about Called Shot and there are 2 Cleffas on board, but Exeggutor can discard any energy from any of the attached Pokemon on your side of the board and then flip coins equal to the number of energy discarded by that. And it does 40 for each heads, so quite a bit of damage can come off of that attack, but it's also a lot of energy deceleration. Ivysaur gets found off of that Elm, so we'll see if E-Reader Venusaur comes down. And it is a pass, no Eek for turn. And it looks like that prize was the missing fan club from the first few turns we were seeing. Pulling out another Scyther. And most likely a Sentret, if I had to guess. And it looks like there's 1 in hand. And it will just be a Copycat for 1. The other Sentret is prized, was looking to deck them, but that's not going to happen here. Now, when considering damage numbers for Exeggutor, you're definitely going to want to attempt to one-hit KO it with Heavy Metal. You already have 10 damage on you. You would need 3 heads off of your flips for Heavy Metal to one-hit KO Exeggutor. There's the Sentret from hand, A DCE comes down on the Scyther for bench to start setting up another Caesar. And a Gold Berry is going to come down on the Caesar just to try to discourage any trading wars with Solar Beams. Heavy Metal again. That one is good as well. 2 Clefas down, second prize. Prizing is now 6 to 3. Venusaur coming in here. And there's a Grass Attached return. Solar Beam is online. You can see Mr. Mime in hand. And instead a Gust will come down, and that's going to target the Murkrow, leaving the Caesar alone. Solar Beam for knockout, so big opportunity here again to try to take out this Venusaur. But it would require 4 heads. Furret comes in. Deciding whether or not to commit Scyther. Instead, looks like that Scyther, or sorry, it's Caesar. Caesar is going to get tucked with Furret for Scavenger Hunt. Going to pull out another Metal. So with 4 Metal on that Caesar, Solar Beam is not going to be the answer here. Leaving that Venusaur inactive is a great way to lose a lot of energy. So Caesar trying to force the Super Explosion to decelerate energy and maybe get lucky. Lots of energy in hand. Keep in mind that the second Caesar is around the corner based on the hand. And it looks like we're going to roll 5 dice for Heavy Metal here. 4 heads would knock out the Venusaur and effectively end the game.
Yeah, because
And for only 3 heads? Alright, I'm doing the math wrong there. Instead, it is 0 heads. Players seemed to agree that it required 3 heads to get the knockout. Pretty sure it was 4 though. Energy transing again. Trying to figure out where to move the energy to. Just getting it off of Venusaur. You can see the Pokemon Center in hand about to heal a bunch of damage off again. And there's the center. Venusaur healed back up to full. 4 cards in hand, debating Copycat. Looks like it's not going to happen. Copycat for 4, sometimes the right play, doesn't look like it here. And a pass. Stranding that Venusaur, leaving a bunch of energy elsewhere though. If there is a Gust available for Caesar, now's the time to use it. Try to pick off some energy on something with less HP. Instead, stacking a Rainbow, really trying to knock out this Venusaur. Caesar now with 20 damage on it.
Alright. Again, I need
50-50 chance for a knockout. And it is good. For some reason, the head's not making, or the math's not making sense there to me. Alright, and now in response, Super Explosion coming. So it looks like, I'm pretty sure they needed 4 heads there instead of 3 to get that knockout. As I read Caesar, but that is fine. Lots of energy just getting discarded for Exeggutor to also flip 6 coins and only require 3 heads to get the knockout. And it is exactly 3 heads, blowing through all the metal, 2 rainbows, and the gold berry to knock out the Caesar. So huge swing back with the Executor, Super Explosion really pulling through, decelerating a lot of energy, but taking that Caesar off the board is a huge deal. All the metal in bin now for Caesar. Prize forgotten to be taken. Prizing is 4-3. Caesar in hand will get committed here. And a quick bin check to see about that item finder. There is a way to get special energy back to the deck here, but it's going to require a lot of discarding. Thinking about if it's worth it, the play here is to use item finder to go and grab computer search, which would discard your Warp, Recycle, Cleffa, and Murkrow. Looking if there's any other options, but it's going to be the comp search. So the whole hand goes down to go and pull one specific card. And it's a trash exchange, so trash exchange will take a good bit of time to resolve here, so we can chit chat about it. But basically you count the number of cards in your discard, shuffle them to the deck, and then discard that many off the top. So this is a way to get metal back into the deck. And then with a free Eek coming here, the hand will be refilled and Fur is online. So this is a way to get back into the game with Caesar and metals.
Keep that easy. Good. Then, do you mind if I separate some of the cards then?
Oh, yeah.
You know if that's cheating?
That probably is.
Sorting bin.
If it's like magic.
So while this trash exchange is resolving, the play here is to get Caesar back online and swinging before Venusaur can get back online and swinging. And given the benches, having a Fur and a Cleffa makes you feel pretty good about being able to get set up in front of what is a Cleffa-less bench on the other side. No Venusaur in sight and very few grass energies in play. The problem is if Venusaur from Expedition is found and Harvest Bounty can proc successfully turn over turn, that would accelerate a lot of energy back. That would create quite an issue as far as Caesar's plan to get ahead here. So now we're discarding 22 off the top. So far no metals have been landed back in the bin from this. Charity to the bin, Town V to the bin, those are worth noting, and a Gust to the bin. No metals and into an Eek. Full 7, and the Venusaur off the top, another top deck. So as we were just talking about, that is Harvest Bounty. A little bit of accidental overdraw there, it'll just be draw for turn next turn. Item Finder sending a Copycat and a Mime to the bin. To grab a Gust for it coming up here. And Copycat into that Eek. Very good response. Gets you a fresh 7. So both sides still fairly even. Prizing is 4-3 in favor of Caesar for now. And lots of grass energy found there. But no more. However, there is another Copycat in hand, it looks like. And a Cleffa to the bench. Executor using Called Shot on a bench Cleffa, prizing now tied at 3-3. Cyclone in hand, not effective with a Cleffa on the bench on the other side now. Plenty of metal, but need to find a way to get Furret out of the way here.
Blow up a circle, 2 rainbow, 4 mana, gold berry. Yeah, he had to roll. He needed 3 out of 3. Yeah, and I.
Well, after I got rid of that, scissor, I don't
Cleffa and Murkrow in hand, not being committed to bench here because of called shot from that Exeggutor. If there are 2 more energy next turn for called shot, that would also be able to take out Murkrow. So current dilemma is how to get that Furret out of the way. Does not look like there is a warp in hand. The Furret can tuck and Scavenger Hunt to go and get a warp, and it looks like that's what we're going to see here. But then you're not going to be able to get an attack off that turn as well. It could maybe stall. And there's the warp. Cleffa comes in. Looks like Fan Club in hands, I think. Instead, it is a pass. Pokemon Center is drawn for VenuCenter here. Could have used that Fan Club, usually attempting to keep hands lean enough in case there's a copycat coming the other way. But not trying to set up any knockouts for Exeggutor. Could pull out a Scyther, but might want to pull something else out later. And now Gust coming down to bring the Scizor active into yet another copycat. Deck getting very thin on the VenuCenter side. Alternative game plan to be considered here for Scizor is mean look locking with Murkrow, especially with that Cleffa still alive. 2 more energy coming down for that Exeggutor into a Town V for VenuCenter. Grabbing the other Venusaur. As well as some grass. Lots of grass. 4 grass to be exact. Bin being checked right now, probably for outs to mean look. You can see that the warps are being counted, as well as item finders and gusts. Looks like 2 finder, 2 gust, and 3 warps are in the bin. Unclear if there is a 3rd and final gust. Oh, now there's 2 finders in the bin. Grabbing an oak, that is aggressive with the item finder. pulling in full 7 here. Another Oak in hand, and there is another Gust. As far as Caesar is aware, we have already seen a standard number of Gusts for a deck to bring to format. And into Computer Search to pull out Venusaur. So both Venusaurs in play, as well as a lot of Grass Energy and a lot of damage on board if Super Explosion happens again. Called Shot will instead take out the other Cleffa. Venusaur now up on prizing 2-3. Caesar has no way to knock out this Executor this turn. You can see Darkness and Murkrow in hand being clutched. Two metal in hand, so it's possible to get Caesar going again. Super Explosion could always low roll if you force the issue. Looks like it will be metal to Caesar, but you won't be able to snatch your way into slowing the game down here. And there's the Fan Club. It was clutched before. Gives some stalling options. Considering a Cleffa as well, but you know there's the Scyther, not a bad option. Scyther comes down. Doesn't want to offer prizes in the form of Murkrow joining the bench or in terms of Cleffa joining the bench. Of course, one more Harvest Bounty for 2 Grass, which we can see in hand for the Venusaur, would allow the Furret to get knocked out with a Called Shot. There's too many Grass on board. And it will be a Fan Club for 1. Second Fan Club for 1 we've seen this game from this side. And we'll be rolling for heavy metal here, 30 or 50. And it is 30. Two more Grass off a Harvest Bounty. Shortcutting the action though, it goes to active, then Energy Transing over to the bench Venusaur. Another Gust in hand. Super Explosion coming again, taking 4 energy off the board, 6 energy off the board. No, 5 energy off the board. Alright, 5 energy off the board. Math is the same as before, needs 3 heads to knock out the Caesar. And it is 2. So Caesar lives with 10 HP. Draw for turn. Now remember, gold berries are still in the deck because of Trash Exchange. So there are ways for this Caesar to get healed up. And there are comp searches and copycats as ways to look for that. That will come in handy later.
Play it out, Jesse. Play it out. Play it out, Jesse.
Metal attaching. Hoping to get a knockout here. Needs 1 heads. And gets it Takes more grass energy off the board. Big deal. So all energy off the board. Harvest Bounty will put 2 right back on the board and put it onto the Solar Beam Venusaur. Town V. Gonna just go and grab a bunch of grass. It's gonna be 5 grass. So Heavy Metal was able to get there. Prizing is 2-2. Caesar hoping to just close things out by attacking and not have to go the Murkrow route. VenuCenter trying to accelerate back into a position to take knockouts. All the meantime, the clock is ticking in terms of finding a Gold Berry for this Caesar. If the Caesar goes down, it is pretty much all up to Murkrow. Gust in hand. As far as Caesar is aware, though, from bin checking, we have gone through 3 warps, 2 gusts, and 2 item finders. So those are cards that could break the Murkrow lock. Eek gets off, thanks to Energy Trans. And Caesar is now going to add Murkrow to the bench. Now, there is 1 grass energy attached to Venusaur, so if Cleffa gets knocked out here, even with Harvest Bounty, an attack is not going to be able to get off next turn.
1 grass each spot.
Darkness now attaching to Murkrow, so the lock is an option. Deciding whether or not to go for the knockout or the lock. Checking for bin. Doesn't think there's another gust. Counting finders, there's 2. Counting gusts, there's 2 at the bottom. Counting warps, we've seen 3. Everybody right now, except for the Caesar pilot, is aware that there is 1 more gust. Deciding which kind of Cleffa heads is going to be attempted here. If Cleffa gets knocked out, it takes the ability to lock the game off the board. So we're going to have to decide if we're going to go for Caesar knockouts to win or a lock. If Cleffa gets knocked out, the lock won't be possible because of Energy Trans. We know that Town B just dumped a bunch of energy into the deck for VenuCenter.
No matter what it's worth.
I need to discard that DCE from Caesar to do that. So that's a little embarrassing. Regardless, the lock fails. Heavy Metal would have failed. So the Cleffa lived. That was a big baby flip. 1 prize left for Venusaur needed, 2 prizes left for Caesar at this point with the energy found for Solar Beam. And the energy moved off of Cleffa. Caesar doesn't want to come back in to try to trade. It could try to slowly power up and then high roll a Heavy Metal on this Venusaur. Instead, it's going to be a Gust for Cleffa. A new Murkrow joins the party. It's a Tuck 2 with Furret. They're going to go and grab the Darkness energy. Oh, it's a Rainbow. We're out of Darkness. 10 damage to the Murkrow. And again, going to go for the lock. So I guess the lesson learned here, at least the first time I brought this deck to tournament, is it's okay to go for the knockout. Was focused on prize denial, to be fair. Going for the mean look. And gets it. Grass and pass. metal to the Caesar. At this point, you can't come back in and try to take the knockout. You will get revenge knocked out. So it will not be attached for turn.
I was supposed to play like. Oh, because I still have a gust in my deck.
We do?
Yeah.
Unless it's the prime, right?
No, it's
One card left in deck for VenuCenter.
Uh-oh.
So I lost.
Both sides are realizing that this game is over.
No, I didn't. I didn't gust it.
Unable to find a gold berry or a means to dig for it. Also unable to stall at this point, it looks like. Cards in hand and cards on board means that VenuCenter is going to take a knockout with that final card in deck, which is Gust. So should have gone for heavy metal. It was a baby flip that ended up in the tails anyway with the initial mean look. Both players playing to outs, learning deck lists a little bit along the way.
I made the choice to decide you ran into the 2-2, so that's why I went for that. Well, I mean, I think if I
Tucking two just to look at the deck, see what's in there. There's one gold berry, there's a finder, there's a copycat.
yeah, so I had in here
A few outs.
a finder and 2 copycats to try and get a gold berry on the last.
2 copycats in there.
So I just talked to Dick about that carry that.
Attach the Caesar and pass. There's the Gust. Great game. Thank you for watching. Both sides played well. Remember, it's okay to take a knockout. Don't have to go for the lock unless you know the list. So thank you for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and catch you next time.